to speak?
No one has contacted us.
This is a meeting of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Full Council. It's an extraordinary meeting that has been called for today. Okay, so we'll start off with apologies for absence.
Yes, apologies for absence from Councillor Kelly Wilson and Councillor MacDonald.
Okay. We've got to approve the minutes from, no, it's not, I'm jumping ahead of myself. For members to declare any interest on the agenda today. Has anybody got any interest to declare? I'll take that as a no. To approve the minutes from the previous council meeting. Okay, that was held on the 28th of July. We've got page 1. Okay, Councillor Hume.
Oh, someone's done it myself.
Okay.
Just one note on there. Just on where we've got the attendees, can we put where they're attending from instead of just like managing director? It just means it's
yeah, okay, sorry, I meant to do that manually. When you add them onto the system, it doesn't pick up the company they've come from. I can add them in manually to the minutes to say that they were from Willis Dawson and from Pegasus Planning respectively, and I intended to do that. I just forgot to do it on the hard copy. The system just doesn't do it automatically, so I overlooked that. But I think it does say, does it not say in the body of the minutes where they're from?
It does, but I still think it's helpful to have in that section.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't.
Yeah. Director.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll add that on manually.
Yeah.
Is everyone okay with that? Yep. Okay, so we'll go to page 2. Got it? No. Page 3. Page 4. And then page 5. Okay. If everyone's happy with that, I'll be signing those as a correct copy of that meeting. We now move on to minutes from committees. I believe there are none.
No, that's correct.
Okay, item 5 is public speaking. Has anyone requested to speak?
No one has contacted me or the office to request to speak.
Okay, that's lovely, thank you.
And we have actually done quite a lot, Chairman, to try and encourage people to and to make people aware of the process.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we now move to item 6, which is to consider the impact of the Milton Keynes Council response to COVID-19 in the High Street, safe and secure. So this is to look at Queensway. This isn't to make a decision on what should happen in the future, what's gone on in the past. This is about the measures that have been put in place due to COVID-19. And it's about making sure that the residents and people using the high street are safe, and that's social distancing and are safe with COVID-19. So that is what this meeting is about. As we're not the highway authority, we cannot change the arrangements in Queensway. That would have to be done by Milton Keynes Council if we could make a case for any changes to be made, but that is down to Milton Keynes Council. So this is just purely for our resolution on where we stand on what is happening in the High Street in Queensway currently due to COVID-19. Okay, so just to be clear, so Delia, you have got a slide to show the COVID-19. Okay, so the first slide shows the amount of COVID positive cases per 100,000 population, and you can see it's done week on week. So we started at 2.6 and went to 2.2, then 0.7, and then 20th, 26, we've gone back to 2.6. So we did have a decline, and now it's starting to increase again. So that's important information for us as councillors to have, especially when we're looking at the measures in Queensway. And the other slide, Celia.
Yep.
So this was the statement that was used when reopening Queensway from COVID-19, and these were the areas that were looked at, and this also indicates where the funding for these measures came from. So on those two slides, has any councillors got any questions?
I don't know if I may speak, Chairman.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've tried to, because this meeting was called in, you know, with fairly short notice, I have tried to provide information and a report, and I did provide a link to find more information about the Reopening the High Street Safely Fund. I've just done this slide to highlight the 4 priorities that the funding that came from ERDF had to be spent on, I think it's right to say, having read through all the guidance on this fund, there are an awful lot of restrictions on the way Milton Keynes Council can spend the money, and there's pages of FAQs which are available that people can look at, and the guidance on how the money can be spent is really quite tight.
Okay, so John, take that down now for me.
Yeah, certainly.
It gets rid of the whole screen, and I need to know who's on the meeting. Yeah. Okay, so that is now open for debate. I'm sure you've all had a chance to look at the additional papers also supplied on this. It includes the consultation that was done in the High Street, which I think is quite important data, because it does actually indicate strongly, if you go down the list, that a lot of shop owners did want full pedestrianisation. So for those people who said possibly the High Street needed to stay open and not have these changes, I think that shows what the consultation results were and what Milton Keynes Council were trying to achieve with the COVID-19. So would anyone like to speak first? Okay, Councillor Hume.
I don't necessarily want to just speak right now. I just wanted to ask a point of clarification on just what you said regarding the survey results.
Yeah.
I may have misheard, but did you say they were inaccurate or something?
No, not inaccurate. No.
I was worried there.
No, not inaccurate. But they pointed out there's quite a lot of people that answered yes to do a pedestrianised zone, which is what Milton Keynes based their road closure on from that consultation. That was all I was saying. Not that the consultation is wrong in any way, no. Okay, Councillor O'Rourke, you wishes to speak, please? Hold on, Councillor. That's it. We couldn't hear you. You're now unmuted.
I had to do it myself. I haven't met anybody who's been consulted. Who are these people? Are they like West Bletchley do it on the phone, or?
No, this was the businesses, and it was done in person. These are the businesses in the High Street were consulted.
They haven't asked the public, not the public, just the businesses.
We asked the business. Well, Milton Keynes Council asked the businesses, and also in your pack you'll see the letter that was also sent to the businesses.
Yeah.
Just clarify, all the businesses that were open on Queensway on the day of the 2 days the consultation was done.
Yeah.
And that was a substantial number of businesses. Yeah.
Which, if you look,
as you can see from the data that's in your pack.
Yeah. Okay. Any other further comments, Councillor O'Rourke?
No, I haven't got the pack. I can't download the bloody.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ely.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I was one of the movers for asking for this meeting to come forward. And I have one question before I go into my bit, and that is that the consultation that was carried out in the High Street, was it the same consultation that we were offered at the first opportunity, which is the two options they offered? I think it was option A and option B. Can someone answer that question?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I think you've got the consultation details in your pack of what was asked, and I think it does include the map. But no, it wasn't. There were not two options. There was one option, and feedback was requested by Milton Keynes Council on the option that they were putting forward.
I would like to say, Keith, what you mentioned there, from my understanding, is we were given two options for the High Street, and were given very short notice, and that didn't go onto a council agenda due to the time strains of that. And so we didn't say we agreed with it or we disagreed with it. It was just the options that were offered to us at the time, and it was the best option at the time.
Right. So in other words, the consultation options that we were given are different to those options given to the businesses. Is that correct?
I think that what I need to stress is this has been very much a moving target for Milton Keynes Council. They've had to operate within a very tight timescale, and things have changed from day to day. I mean, if you look at the chronology that I've provided in the report, you'll see that on the very first occasion when this matter was considered by the Town Council, we were looking at potentially using planters as barriers to prevent vehicles encroaching onto the pavement. That was on one day, that was considered at Council, and we agreed that if that was the way that Milton Keynes Council decided to proceed, the Town Council would pay for maintenance and planting of the containers. By the next day, more work had been done, and that option had been ruled out. And this is the way that things have gone. There's been a lot of it's not been a normal situation where there was time for lengthy consultations. Things have changed from time to time.
Okay, thank you.
I think what the council were asked was to look at two options, and we said which was the least worst, but it was very much a straw poll based on what those councillors who responded to an email that was sent out. Because I'm sure you remember, Councillor Ely, we had a very short amount of time to respond to that. And
it was like an afternoon, wasn't it?
It was, yes, it was. And then
can I just say one thing? The consultation for the High Street businesses was on a proposal, not a choice. So they were asked to, because the consultation was on the proposal, which was just one proposal. It wasn't a choice option.
No, that's right.
Okay,
Thank
you for that information. So it's quite clear that Milton Keynes Council are flying by the seat of their pants, and the options and the proposals were changing, as we just heard, day by day. And I at the end of my comments, which there are many, I have a resolution that I propose to put to the council for their consideration. You can amend it, you can throw it out, you can do what you will, but at least it gets it off my chest. And I accept that there's more than one solution to the problems in Queensway, and that is why consultation is so important. And in all honesty, the consultation has been an absolute shambles from start to finish. If it's changing day to day, how can that be a consultation? I gave comments on two options. I've never heard of any other options. So how my consultation feeds into the rest of it, I failed to see. A section of Queensway has been closed, which has as wide, if not wider, footpaths than those where Queensway has been left open. Now, we know where it's been closed formally, which is between Cambridge Street and Bedford Street. And the footpaths there are, what, 30 foot wide? and plus on one side, and at least 20 footpath wide on the north side. When you get further on Queensway, which is open, you have places like Palmer's and the other shop, which are far narrower, but there's no closure. The second point is that, is it because buses use the open section of Queensway? That's one argument that could be put forward. Are we to assume, therefore, that the social distancing does not apply to that section or is less important? Because if it hasn't been closed because of buses, but the section that is wider and better provided for has been closed because of social distancing, then what is the nonsense of leaving the other section open? The third point, seats and other street furniture have been removed in Elizabeth Square, while other seats remain. Planters have been removed to achieve what? What social distancing was at risk? Then the planters at the entrance to Elizabeth Square were also removed. What did that improve? Certainly not social distancing. The removal of planters is on a section of footpath which is, to all intents and purposes, where parked cars are there as well, is 100 foot wide. So removal of planters, 4 of them, can someone explain the rationale behind that? Because I can't see it. The seats in the remainder of Queensway remain, as do those in Stanier Square. Or are we to assume that these too will be removed at some whim, or assume that social distancing again does not apply? You can't have it both ways. You either remove the seats because of social distancing, or you leave them alone because they don't interfere. We now have 2 instances where that occurred. Take Elizabeth Square, for instance. They didn't remove them all. The majority of seats are still there. So it doesn't, why have taken some out and some remain? If we then turn to the closure itself, we're told what I was told in the consultation that I received was part is a hard closure and part a soft one. The TRO for these arrangements I would like to see. It is unlikely that the arrangements on the ground mirror the details contained in the order. If you look at what is on the closure on the the closure on the ground and the signs that you have to negotiate for the closure, how you achieve a soft closure, I don't know. In general terms, you either close a road or you leave it open. If you close it, you make it with exceptions, but you certainly don't make a soft closure, close it with options for the general public still to use, which is what is happening in what I believe the councillors, Milton Keynes Council, call a soft closure. The market moved from one wide footpath 100 yards along Queensway to another wide footpath within the closed section. The footpath within the closed section is virtually the same distance width as the section that is open where the market was moved from. So I would ask the question, why was the market moved? Two-way traffic was allowed in Bedford Street. And this is after passing a road closure sign in Queensway. How is that possible? To get to the two-way section in Bedford Street, you have to pass a road closed sign outside Palmer's Butchers. If you pass a road closed sign, you've broken the law. You can't do it. But this is a two-way road in Bedford Street, so that if you get trapped in there, you can drive out. And there's arrows on the road to signify that that is possible. The real problems haven't even been addressed. And I would give you Palmer's, Bargain Store, Barclays and Halifax banks. Not touched. The road's still open. So where the major problems are, social distancing problems are, nothing has been done. So if that's the case, why is Queensway? The execution of the closure. There's a complete lack of meaningful consultation. And I accept the point about regarding business. That's one element of consultation. How many members have been consulted? I haven't. I was given 1.5 hours to give my views on the original alternatives. 1.5 hours. Subsequent changes at whim of MKC Ringway with problems with prodding by our staff. No time for member involvement. Not acceptable. At one stage, after the closure was in place, there were 8 Ringway staff on site. I was there for 2 hours, and during that time, they did nothing. This then reduced to 4 staff who still did nothing. They were doing nothing when I got there. They were doing nothing when I left. On Monday the 3rd, yesterday, 2 staff were there all day and did nothing and left the site at 4 p.m. So it begs the question, what are the people of Bletchley doing during the day that requires attendance of 2 staff that they don't do after 4 p.m? If we don't require supervision after 4 p.m, what's it there before? Been doing there before? The real critical thing, in my view, is I don't like this town council being laughed at, because public think it is us doing the work, because we are the only ones with Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council on their uniforms and doing work on the planters. We're there doing work and the others are standing around watching us. The whole scheme was designed in haste, executed with waste, and left Queensway in chaos. The full cost from design, TROs and all this work must be disclosed. That's me finished, Chair. But if you want a resolution, you can guess what it's going to be. Not going to be very nice.
You want to put forward your resolution, because you've actually spoken for quite a long time, so I didn't really want to come back. So if you want to do your resolution, that's fine.
Right.
That's up to you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, too right. Get it off, get it out of the way, Chess. That the council rejects the works undertaken in Queensway in the name of social distancing and censures MKC on its lack of meaningful consultation. It further resolves that any further works be stopped and that Queensway be returned to its previous state pending proper and meaningful consultation as laid out in the parish protocol. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Me finished.
Thank you, Councillor Ely. I'll now move to Councillor Graham.
Good evening. Thank you for that, Councillor Ely. I was going to echo quite a lot of what Councillor Ely said, but adding to what he said, you know, the consultation is fine, but we're still getting lots of complaints from residents, members of the public. The social distancing down at Queensway on some days is very shocking. As some of the councillors have been down there and we've seen it, and we've actually done a bit of consultation with Milton Keynes ward councillors and highlighted some of the issues in Queensway, and I think to no avail. I don't think it's been passed on at all. I don't think, you know, sometimes Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council are not listened to by Milton Keynes Council, but we the councillors are subjected to the public complaining, moaning, the staff complaints about the social distancing and about some of the issues along Queensway. And sometimes I don't think that Milton Keynes Council take into consideration the councillors in Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council and what we've got to say about our residents. I don't think they take that into consideration enough. I think they need to listen more because we get the complaints from our residents. So I'd just like to echo pretty much what Keith said. I'm not sure about the resolution, but I echo the majority of what he said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm not sure who wants to speak next. I have Councillor Haynes and then Councillor Hume. Councillor Haynes? Ron?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, I echo everything that Keith says, but one thing I can put Keith right on, when they moved the chairs that he's on about, that weren't moved through coronavirus, that was moved because the street drinkers would cause a lot of problems there. And it's the police who had them moved, not Milton Keynes Council.
Councillor Haynes, I have to correct you there. That is not the case. It was part of the coronavirus.
Yeah, but they said, the police said they wanted them moved, and they've a long time ago.
But Councillor Haynes, we need to not do hearsay. We need facts, and the facts were that they were taken away because of COVID-19, and I'm sure that the town clerk can confirm this, and that's my belief.
That's correct. There were numerous discussions about the seats and whether they should be removed. And the problem with moving the seats was whether vehicles, once the seats were moved, whether vehicles would drive up onto the space where the seats were, and that's why they weren't removed instantly. They were discussed on numerous occasions, and following a lot of feedback from the town council, they were, at our request, they were removed.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, is there any further points you want to make, Councillor Haynes?
It looks so laughing and blaming us for it, as Keith said, you know, and we was totally made to look stupid. And obviously people now realise it wasn't us, it was Milton Keynes Council. And they still think there's road works being done, some people, you know, because they see the guys there all the time. And it's been a shambles right from the very start.
Okay, thank you then, Councillor Haynes. Okay, so we'll now go to Councillor Hume.
First thing I want to say is I want to say thank you for Delia and Jill for pulling this the pack and the papers together in such a short period of time. And I just really want to just share that appreciation with them. I know it's not been easy. And so I just really want to say as a council, I appreciate that. This is a really tough issue. I agree with some of what Councillor Ely has said, not all of it. I think this is a challenging situation. We're coming out of well, we're actually still in it really, a pandemic, and we've never had, things are happening at different speeds to what they would do usually. And therefore that does mean some of the ways that consultation may happen may be a bit different. And in a perfect world, I would love to have I'm sure we would all love to have a 6-week consultation where we can make a resolved resolution as a town council to Milton Keynes Council. The Milton Keynes Council can then also spend more time working with the businesses and also with the local community and engage in their opinion. Unfortunately, some of these measures have had to be taken fairly quickly, and so that's not necessarily all been possible. But I do agree that actually some of it could be improved. And we have to remember that not everything we say will be put into place. There are other considerations that other authorities may have to make, and we don't necessarily see them. So I think for me, I would have liked to have seen some more communication from Milton Keynes Council about why they have done what they have done, and maybe some of the reason for it. So for example, if you were closing part of Queensway, why has it stopped at Brooklands Road rather than on the other side of Palmer's at least? I think having some of that detail shared with us as councillors and the community would be useful, and I would certainly like to see that. I think there's some key challenges. One of the things that I've noticed is I absolutely like, I'm much rather walk down Queensway now than I did before. I think that it's less full of cars, which means it's a more pleasant atmosphere. I think generally the way parking is happening is better, and I think it's going through a period of change. Everything's changing at the moment. We don't know, and people are getting used to that change, and that it's not an easy time. Change is never easy. Some of us love change, some of us really dread it, and so changes do take a little bit of time to bed in. But this is all temporary, and hopefully, once the pandemic is lifted, we can think about these measures will be lifted. There's also the Town's Board, which will look at Queensway in more depth, and actually that will provide us an opportunity to provide feedback on what we would like to see happen with Queensway. Do we want to pedestrianise? Do we not? What other things do we want to see there? And that's a really valuable exercise. So that is coming up, and I think we just need to be aware of that. I think with the move of the market, there are some things that I have picked up. I've spoken to somebody who is now looking at having stalls because of the fact that the market has moved and they like the location. There is more space, it's more centred, it's more pulled together. And I think that will have benefits in the future, especially if we can run some sort of promotion on the market to encourage new stall holders. I think that would be good. And I think actually, yeah, so there's some positives and there's some bad bits. I think for me, the biggest area of the issues around the COVID-19 is around the outside Palmer's Butchers and the safety issues there with parked cars and people. What I have noticed and I have observed, and I'm sure many of others here have observed, is when there has been parking warden attendance outside there, that has not been an issue. And actually, I think it has been noticeable, the difference having those parking attendants there has made on Queensway. When they haven't been there, it's people are parking outside on double yellow lines again. And so that is challenging. And I would like to see the road closure go up a bit further to cover that area at least. But I recognise that there needs to be consultation with other people that we don't necessarily think about Queensway. For example, bus users. Most of us drive on here. I know not all of us do. Some of us use the bus. Actually, having the bus go up Brooklands Road and left is really helpful with that stop there. Potentially, there needs to be consultation. If you were going to close that, then the bus could be routed around Finley Way and onto Princess Way. But I feel we need to make that view known to Milton Keynes Council. So I think there's positives and negatives to what's happened. And actually, that's what I am hearing. I am hearing a divided opinion about what's going on, and it's very easy. It's very easy to pick up the negative comments. Absolutely, and the little bits and pieces that are wrong, that should be done differently, and we tend to dwell on that. And I understand that, and they need improving, but there are positive comments out there as well. I think also we need to recognise how Milton Keynes Council has worked with our officers, and I think some of that's detailed in the report from Delia. And part of that is, for example, we have now got some of the electrics around the lamps and the market. Actually, that's been fed in from us as the town council, our town council officers, and that's helping with how we continue with Christmas lights in the future, or it's helping us establish the market in that one area. We fed into that process, and I think that needs to be recognised. It's not that actually things have changed because of what our officers who've been on the ground day in, day out have fed back. So I do feel we need to recognise that. So I wouldn't necessarily, I'm not going to vote for Keith's resolution. I think I disagree with him on the outcome of returning everything back to how it was. But I would possibly want to do my own resolution where actually we ask from Milton Keynes Council for more details of why things have been done like they are. And we say we believe that if there is no parking attendance outside Palmer's, we need to look at where the road closure is and the redirection of buses. So that would be the essence of my motion, just focusing on that. but that would be for you, see if you would agree with that motion.
Okay, Ed, could I, Councillor Hume, could I just ask, would you actually be saying to move the road closure to cover those shorter bits of the pathway and to reroute the bus? Because we do need to have quite a firm resolution to actually go back. So with that,
I would certainly have the road closure go up as far as Barclays, and maybe have them make those parking spaces better, because actually I think people can park well there. The challenge with that is, if you do that, where do those cars go? So I think we can feedback that the road closure needs to be further up past Barclays, but I think we need to then ask how Milton Keynes Council could work through those options.
I think if we ask it in the first place and then for them to come back, would you do that resolution?
Yeah, and I think also to include on that the relocation of or the temporary relocation of the Brooklands Road bus stop onto Finley Way. Okay.
Right, just so it's clear for councillors. Thank you, Councillor Hume. I'm not sure who was next. I think it's Councillor Kenworthy.
Thank you, Chair. Basically, this is incredibly difficult times and very difficult decisions. It's so abnormal. We've got this rapid, knee-jerk, forced upon type situation. There wasn't proper analysis time. We've all been heavily laughed at. I presume everybody has been. We've had plenty of negative comments, and not very nice ones, that what we've been doing. The execution phase, as Councillor Ely pointed out, was observed by so many people who are not happy as well. And there's a vast degree of inconsistency in what has actually happened, particularly a number of people have pointed out. The number one issue is Palmer's and Brooklands. And that number one issue does not seem to have been dealt with. And this is where I disagree with Councillor Ely and more towards Councillor Hume. We need to have feedback, we need to have post-mortem, we need to have information in order to take a decision. So we shouldn't get involved in a situation with Milton Keynes Council where we want it all taken out, then half of it gets put back in, and it's some silly tug of war over what's going on. What needs to be done is information first, what needs to be fixed, and actually look at that. So the way ahead should be about how to improve the situation we have got, rather than all or none. And so I will be backing a motion that Councillor Hume's doing, rather than let's get it all back as it was. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, I just want to remind everybody that these measures were put in really quickly because of COVID-19. Okay, we are not the Highways Authority, Milton Keynes Council are. So what we need tonight, and the purpose of the agenda, was for us to give a resolution of how we stand as a council, what we want to see in Queensway, and then it's for Milton Keynes Council to either take that on board, make changes, or not to take it on board, and then we have to come back and see if there are other alternatives. But it is about a resolution. Where do we stand? Do we want it all taken out, as Councillor Ely has said, or, as Councillor Hume has said, is our resolution that we need to improve on what we've got by possibly moving that road closure and rerouting the buses? We need to give a firm steer to Milton Keynes Council of what we want as a town council. We can't say, if you could possibly look at, we need to give a proper resolution so they have notice of how we feel and what we're looking for. Okay, hold on 2 seconds because Delia wishes to speak.
I mean, there's quite a lot that I could say based on what's been said, but I just feel that I need to defend the officers at Milton Keynes Council that I've been working with against the suggestions that these changes have been put in on a whim. I think that's very unfair. I know that a lot of officer time has gone into this, and a lot of work has been done specifically with us to try and accommodate market stalls and that kind of thing. But I just thought, so I think it's important that that's noted. But I just wanted to talk about the extending the road closure. That has been discussed with Milton Keynes Council several times, and it's been made very clear to me that this is beyond both by the Director for Public Realm and the Cabinet Member for Public Realm, that pedestrianisation of Queensway is beyond the scope of the funding and the intention of the Reopening the High Streets Safely Fund, and that it would require further and further consultation and further work before it was felt that that could be done. Now, I fully understand what everyone's saying about the fact that the most dangerous bit of Queensway is still an area where social distancing isn't taking place. And I also just wanted to mention that although the parking enforcement officers are there, they're only there for a further, well, for a 4-week period from when the road closure went in, and after that there is no guarantee that there will be enforcement officers present because of funding constraints. But I think the main reason why the road closure stopped at Brooklands, which was one of the questions that was asked for Milton Keynes, was because of the bus, and the fact that there has to be a longer consultation. So it was partly that there has to be more consultation on the bus, and also because it was considered to be a larger and more significant road closure. I'm not defending it, I'm just explaining for the benefit of councillors the way that it's been explained to me.
Okay, I have been quite new on this. I have seen it for myself. I've visited there several times. One day I went down every day of the week, just to see what was happening. Now, there's nothing worse that infuriates me more than Milton Keynes Council not listening to us when we have mentioned the dangers. They're saying it's about COVID-19 and social distancing, and then will not do anything about Barclays, Palmers and that stretch there, where people are up against a lamppost and a tree and pedestrians can't pass safely when there are queues outside the store. So that, to me, is an unacceptable answer from Milton Keynes Council. And I have been supporting Milton Keynes Council in everything they've done regarding COVID-19 and trying to get the high street revitalised and moving forward. But to hear that I find infuriating, that, you know, the worst part of our high street, as Councillor Ely has pointed out, is not being addressed. And we have a bus station in Bletchley, and I'm sure we can accommodate the bus round another way to reach that bus station than having that stop in the high street, because the bus station is very close proximity, and we do have lots of chairs in Stanley Square for people to sit on. So that's just my point. Councillor Ely, I'm going back to you because you put your resolution forward, which you've yet to get seconded. After hearing the debate of other councillors, are you willing to amend any of your resolution, such as not taking the whole thing out, but adjusting it to accommodate that part of the road closure in front of Palmer's?
No, Chair. The point is that the danger that we as members have fallen into is doing exactly what Milton Keynes have been doing. Thinking of something to amend an existing problem and creating other problems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to extend the road closure will create other problems. Then you'll have to do something different to overcome those. And so it will go on. It needs a comprehensive, coherent approach, and we haven't got it. And therefore, I believe we should, well, you know what my resolution was, but that goes nowhere, Chair, unless it's a seconder.
Seconded, yeah. I also want to point out, if you look at the consultation and the results that were done, And also I've visited Palmer's as well, and they are for pedestrianisation. They don't want people parking outside their area because they can see the dangers with people queuing. So before we take that, we do need a seconder. I have got Councillor Graham and Councillor Hume. So I think Councillor Graham was first, then Councillor Hume.
Listen to some of the arguments around the table there. I honestly think that some of the issues that are here today are issues that have been here way in the past. The parking has always been a situation. I hear what everyone's saying about COVID-19 and such likes, but that's why we need to take a better approach in respect of resolving these issues, not a rushed situation. I mean, we can't be taking things very quickly because we have got the public safety at heart. So we must put a decent plan in place to do the social distances. The problems outside Palmer's has existed for well over 5-6 years now. Do you know what I mean? You know, now the COVID-19 situation's come along, we've got more issues along that high street, more issues along that stretch of road. I mean, we've been out there, we've seen it, we know there's queues all over the place, and I don't think Milton Keynes Council definitely hasn't addressed that situation. So, you know, we need to have a stronger resolution. I think we need to extend right up to Palmer's and create, if we're going to create you know, a no-go zone and pedestrianisation, we extend it way past Palmer's, and then keep the good work that we're doing from the officers with Milton Keynes Council, and not patch fix it, but we do something more stronger than what we've got at the moment. Thank you.
Chairman, could I just interrupt for a moment, please? There's been a point of order raised through the meeting chat that's been going on, and it's been pointed out to me that the motion put forward by Councillor Hume was potentially seconded by Councillor Kenworthy.
Oh, I didn't hear that, to be fair.
I'm not sure that I heard those exact words, but I think that the suggestion has been put in the chat that
I thought he was
for all
just
intents and purposes.
I thought he was just saying he agreed with the comments he was making, not that he was seconding. I didn't hear the word second in the emotion.
Perhaps we could ask.
Yeah, Councillor
If you want to ask
Kenworthy.
Councillor
I
Kenworthy.
said I'll support the motion of Councillor Hume.
So you're seconding that motion?
Yes, I would second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Ely. I'm going to go to Councillor Hume first because he's been waiting for a while. So I just want to speak to Councillor Hume first, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor Ely.
Yeah, I initially just wanted to raise that point of order. This is a really tricky subject, and I think we need to. I do agree that we need to have a proper look at what the long-term solutions are, and I think that will come through the town board that's going on, and we need to ensure that we have good community consultation on that. And I really hope that our clerk would push for that. But
could I ask you just to clarify exactly what your motion is and what purpose it has, rather than just asking them to look at, rather than be more precise in what?
So I'm happy to take amendment to be and actually I will suggest the amendment.
Yeah.
To extend the closure to Bedford Street, which is the last road before
Bedford Street's the one by the Conservative Club.
No, it's the third one further up. Oxford Street, sorry, Oxford Street.
Yeah, Street, yeah. That's all right.
Is that a hard closure?
A hard closure, and to reroute the buses following consultation. Reroute the buses. I think that will deal with the biggest issue that there is.
So that would take it up to Barclays, wouldn't it? Because then there is room, yeah. Okay, so that's your motion, and you're happy with that, Councillor Kenworthy?
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
Can I ask for information from Milton Keynes Council? So Milton Keynes Council to provide information on the decisions that have been made as to why the road closure is where it is, so we can communicate that well with the public. That's probably an add-on, so I apologise for that. But I think that's quite important.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kenworthy, are you happy still with that motion? If you just nod, that's fine. He's happy with that. Thank you. Okay, so I'll go back to Councillor Ely before we go further. Councillor Ely.
Also, as a point of order, Chair, I put a resolution on the table half an hour ago. All right, it hasn't been seconded, but it overrules Ed's.
Okay, yeah. If we get a seconder.
But if I don't get a seconder, it goes to Ed. But if I do get a seconder, you've got to take a vote on what I put forward. Then you can go to Ed.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Ely's motion? I'm not seeing a seconder, Councillor Ely.
You're quite right, Chair.
Okay, so we do move to Councillor Hume's motion, which has been seconded. Okay, before we move to the vote, does anybody else wish to speak? We'll go Councillor Ely, then Councillor Graham. Only because that's whose hand went up first.
Well, members, you're going to fall into the trap now of totally unconsulted ideas being put to members. No one else has any idea whether this is acceptable to our parishioners or not, because it hasn't been consulted on. And so you're amplifying all the errors that Milton Keynes Council has done. And I'm speechless, Chair. I really am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I think we do just need to emphasise that consultation is really high on Milton Keynes Council's list. It's just because this is COVID-19, they didn't have chance to do a consultation, but they have now had a lot of feedback, so I think that should help them understand what's going on. Okay, Councillor Graham.
Just if Councillor Hume would like to amend just slightly to incorporate having more enforcement down in Queensway, as we, yes, they're going to be there for 4 weeks, but after that, we still need enforcement down in Queensway because we've still got an issue with parking in Queensway. So that's it.
Okay, Councillor Hume. Do you accept that amendment, Councillor Hume?
So I'm just waiting for it to be unmuted, so apologies for that. Can I make a slight change to your amendment, Richard? It's that I do agree that more enforcement is good, but I also recognise that there is an issue with resources. So I just want to try and make it really, really clear that either if the road closure cannot be accommodated, that enforcement is on that corner all day, every day. Is that fair? Is that a fair change? I feel that that would add weight to also the motion.
Okay, Councillor Graham, do you accept that as the amendment that you offer? Yeah, he's happy with that. Okay then, so I've got no other motions, nobody else waiting to speak. So, Councillor Haynes, you wish to speak?
Yes, I tried to second Keith's thing, but no one took any notice. Whether you didn't see me waving my hand, but I did try to second Keith's motion. I can't hear you now. Sorry, Chair, I couldn't hear you.
I said, I didn't see you waving about.
Yeah, I know you probably didn't. I was probably too out of the sight, but I did try. No, I did try. I did try. Yeah, I just wanted noted that I did try. So
okay, so how do we deal with that, Delia?
Well, I'm afraid I didn't see it, and nor did you.
No, I probably had it too far over to one side. It's probably my fault. It's probably my fault.
I mean, and so I'm in your hands, Chairman. It's for you to determine how standing orders are to be applied, but I would say that there was ample opportunity and a long time waited for someone to second.
Okay. Councillor Ely.
I'll withdraw my motion, Chair, and therefore you go straight to Councillor Hume. The motion, Ron, my motion wouldn't have gone anywhere. It's quite clear that that's the case from the other members. So consider my motion withdrawn.
Thank you, Councillor Ely. Councillor Mohammed Rashid, did you wish to speak? I think he did, please. I can't really see him. I've got a really bad picture.
Difficult to see.
Yeah.
Hello there.
Hello, Councillor
Yes,
Rohim.
thanks very much for taking my call there. Yeah, I agree with the Councillor Hume motion that I will support it as well. I wish to add a bit more extra that if that is also possible. I wish to see a bit more funding for the traffic warden for the Bletchley long-term future planning in terms of parking issues here, and also implementing further improvement for the implementing the COVID-19 in terms of, like, pedestrian public social distancing as well. So can there be some kind of funding for the public, how we can implement that a bit further on, and also funding for the traffic warden to stay there after 4 weeks, when it expires? That's my
I don't believe we can do anything about the enforcement because they're employed by Milton Keynes, well, a contract with Milton Keynes Council, so we'd have to ask them. However, I'm not sure I understand the second request. I don't know if anyone else.
I took from it that the council was requesting additional funding to implement social distancing measures. That was what I, what I understood.
As in what way? Because a lot of
as in, I mean that when we are breaking the law in terms of people entering the shops, retail units, are there the proper mask in place? So a bit more, I would say, people, doing shopping in the area in the Queensway specifically.
Enforcement issues then, which obviously we don't have any enforcement powers as a council.
Okay, Councillor Hume.
Waiting to be unmuted. There we go. I'm a bit confused by this. Are we saying so the parking thing I kind of get? I probably wouldn't want it on the motion because actually I think it's a wider point, and actually I think it's something that needs to be addressed on a longer term thing rather than just the COVID-19. So I wouldn't necessarily want that amendment to my motion, although I do agree with the general principles about parking enforcement. I'm confused about the COVID-19 and increase in funding. Funding from where and who would be doing the enforcement? Are we saying enforcement for wearing masks, or are we saying, I'm not quite sure what the enforcement is and where we're asking the funding to come from? So that would be useful to have clarified.
Okay, Councillor Rohim.
Yeah, thanks for the advice, Councillor Hume. Because the local authority, Milton Keynes Council, is now overall in charge of the COVID-19 and implementing the procedures in terms of public health and safety. Can I ask here, are they in charge of public welfare in terms of when the gathering taking place, social distancing is not implemented properly, particularly in the retail shops, in the grocery stores? Is it not part of Milton Keynes Council responsibility on that?
Well, enforcement is a matter for the police, but I know that Milton Keynes Council has been engaging with local businesses to try and help them to understand what is required in terms of social distancing. So there has been activity by Milton Keynes Council with the business community. I think perhaps this is a little bit outside the scope of the matter that we've got on the agenda at the moment, and maybe this should come to another council meeting as a more perhaps it could be formulated into a more precise proposal, perhaps for finance next week, or for the full council meeting the week after.
Okay, Councillor Rohim, is it possible that you could put that into a motion and forward to the clerk, and we can consider that at finance or next full council? of exactly what you mean, because I don't think it falls into what we're trying to do here. Are you okay with that, Councillor Rohim?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Councillor Rohim. Okay. So, Councillor Hume, did you just want to confirm your full motion to everybody before we go to the vote?
Okay, so the motion, Delia, what do you have written down?
I have.
That's
The
what you say.
proposal is that we ask Milton Keynes Council, the council will ask Milton Keynes Council to extend the hard road closure to Oxford Street and to reroute the buses following consultation with the community. And if the road closure, if this change to the road closure cannot be accommodated, to request that there is parking enforcement every day on that corner outside Palmer's. All day, every day. And in addition, to ask the Milton Keynes Council to provide information on why the road closure is as it is at the moment.
Is that's correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I could add, oh yeah, no, that is correct. I just also wanted, can I just make a further point? I just really want to make this point. I think it's really been really disappointing that actually, well, it's been good on us that we've produced leaflets and we've publicised it. What's been disappointing is that the Highways Authority hasn't done that. So we've shared the road closure. So I just wanted to just, I don't want to add that to the motion, but I just feel it's worth saying.
Okay.
Talking again.
That's not added to the motion, Delia.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go to the vote now. All those in favour of that motion? Okay, Ron, I can't see your hand either way. All those not in favour? Anyone against? Ron, I can't see your hand. I have no idea what you're voting for.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining.
Yes.
Okay, so on my calculation, that's carried then.
That's
Is
okay.
that
My only concern is I don't know whether Councillor O'Rourke is with us or not.
I didn't take him on the vote because I can't see him, and he hasn't
I can't see him.
Electronic hand either.
Are you there, Councillor O'Rourke?
Yes, what happened? Did you cut me off?
No.
No. Councillor O'Rourke, are you voting for the motion, against the motion, or abstaining?
Against.
Against. Now I've lost count.
I think we've got 2 against and 1 abstention, and everybody else was in favour. Is what
so that,
I understood it. I don't know if you want to rerun it.
I'm going to rerun it because I can't see Councillor Haynes. I can't see Councillor Rohim. I have no idea what they're voting for. So we will go again.
O'Rourke again now.
Okay. So all those in favour of the motion? Okay, so if that's 4.
5.
Yeah, 5. Okay. Anyone against?
2 against.
2. Abstaining?
1 abstention.
So does that add up correctly?
Your vote now, Chair.
Your vote, Chairman.
I'm voting for the motion.
That makes it 6. That's 9. That's correct.
Okay, so that's carried. Okay, so that's the end of our meeting tonight. I'd like to thank you all for your time and your input into this meeting. It is appreciated. And hopefully we will send this resolution to Milton Keynes Council, and then would we be able to feedback their response to next full council?
Yes, certainly. Could I just make one other point? It's concerning the Towns Fund. I just want to reiterate that it has been made very clear to me by many different officers and individuals that if the Town Council is minded to see significant changes in Queensway, then we must not lose the opportunity to put forward projects to the Town's Deal Board. And obviously that's not for this meeting, but it's just really, really important that members keep hold of that, and that as a council we act on that if that's what council is minded to do.
That's lovely, thank you. Okay, Councillor Kenworthy. We are closing the meeting, Councillor Kenworthy.
Just a point of information that affects all this is that the closure on Buckingham Road, South Saxon, means that to get to Buckingham Road, you have to take a bus up to Standing Way, down by Wadden, and it takes more than 20 minutes to go from the bus station now to the police station. And because you're waiting 20 minutes as well, the time, it took me 55 minutes to go from the bus station to Buckingham Road this week. And that does not help. And it's upset a lot of people. There are people up at the railway station saying the arrangements are just mental. We do have we have 3 bus stops on Princess Way area. So with those 3 bus stops in Princess Way, complementing the bus station as well, I think we have enough bus stops. And so the Palmer situation certainly can't be down to there is a bus problem in the area of Bletchley, because it is just so inconsistent and inaccurate.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Obviously, thank you for your comments. Right, I'm going to close the meeting now. Thank you all for attending.